How do they do it, JJ?
Firstly, the answer is they aren't recording all of those at once. They're only recording the master recording, right? And then secondly, they set all that stuff up beforehand, and then they just hit buttons to change between the things that are already all set up.
Healy. I don't know. I mean, trying to find...
unless you see them building the scene on screen, I don't know how else they could do it, right?
Right.
Or they have like a piece of software that works remotely, right? Like I know vMix is one I hear people talk about.
D-Drive, Game Boy Library, GB. Okay, GBA. All right, so let's just pull all the GB games. Open a new window. I have the few setup things left to do, and we can get started. Okay, plug this into the dock. Come on, dock. Dock,
what year is it?
All right, Bluetooth. Select, turn on, searching. Should be findable. Come on. You can do it. You can do it.
What are we looking for?
I'm trying to put a keyboard on this bad boy.
Yeah. There it goes. That's probably helpful.
Yeah. Do I think I want a mouse too? That's the question. Why is it taking so long to pair?
I don't know. All I see is a screen that says Bluetooth keyboard, and Bluetooth keyboard is highlighted.
Yeah, and then it's got the little rotatey symbol saying like available to pair. Why is it not pairing it? Pair it.
Is it trying to pair to TV Tatooine? Is that the issue?
No, there's a little rotating dial next to the keyboard.
Oh, I do see that now. I didn't see that before. I was looking in the wrong part of the screen.
I don't know. And I've got my mouse available to pair now too, and it's not finding that.
Well, given the rate at which it has had trouble pairing thus far, I wouldn't.
This is gonna suck to do without a keyboard, I would think.
Yeah, I think you probably want the keyboard.
This is annoying. This is what I thought was gonna be the last thing to do because it would be easy.
You fool. You fool. How could you think something?
The mouse is reconnected.
Why Andrew Cooper's? That's what I want.
I don't know. That's not.
What are the options here?
I don't know. Maybe we need to do this in desktop mode or something.
Yeah, I would probably. Seems to be struggling.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Bully to that, I guess. Okay, let's get out of this menu. Go to the library. Go to installed. And we're gonna go bye-bye. Wait, what? How do I uninstall RetroArch?
I would think you...
Manage.
Yeah. There you go.
Sorry, JJ. We're undoing everything we've done.
No.
Well, my mouse is working. Whoever Andrew Cooper is very happy to be controlling my computer. So next is Steam. Power. Switch to desktop. Now we lose signal for a little bit here. I guess we've started the podcast, maybe?
I don't know. Are you recording this?
I've been recording just to see if it would work.
So then, how it would work. Sure.
Hey, we're on a podcast. You know, I don't know if it even exists anymore, but you know, Kevin Smith had that thing called the Smodcast for a long time. Oh, interesting.
Pretty sure he still does, maybe. Produce those podcasts?
Yeah. Why is it?
Is it trying to show me a blank desktop here? Because that's all I see.
I think what it's doing is showing you a second screen. So we're gonna have to figure out how to mirror that, because I have another screen in front of me. So let's see
That
here.
would be well, there's two things potentially that could be going on here. Either you need to change the screen settings in the OS so that it doesn't try to detect it as a second screen and set it up for mirroring. Or perhaps the dock has some kind of setting about that.
So, display and monitor. There we go. Device, built-in display, resolution, replaced by refresh, etc. Display configuration. What is happening here? Resolution, refresh, replica of built-in screen.
That sounds like what you want.
Okay, give it a moment.
I see some stuff now.
Yeah. Huh. This is strange, man. This is real finicky. Pretty finicky. I'm gonna unplug the dock and plug it back in. See if we can get the screen to show back up and do the right thing here. Welcome to We Were Gamers, episode 343. We're clearly buttoned up on this podcast. We've got it all figured out.
As usual, we're right on top of things.
There we go.
Let's see. This looks all right.
Now it's replicating the screen.
Yeah, this looks like what we want.
Yeah. It does. Now, can I get the mouse to move? No. So whatever mouse is connected to my computer is not connected. I don't think.
The issue is you probably want to disconnect the mouse from your computer and then connect it to this thing, right?
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
you don't want to fight
the one that we thought we may have added in the
you probably lost that when you disconnected the dock.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
We've got another issue, which is that I can't I can't move the mouse. Yeah, but I don't have
still, right?
Yeah, so this is as far as the touchscreen goes on my, see where the mouse goes now? That's as far as the touchscreen goes. Yeah. Okay. So I can't see the bottom of the screen anymore. So now what?
You may have to reboot, because I don't see how you can fix that without access to more menus. Can you bring up a menu by pressing and holding and something like that?
Oh, I could probably use
click and hold, some kind of menu.
Let's disconnect this, whatever the thinks the mouse is. Return to gaming mode. Computer. Return to gaming mode. We'll disconnect whatever it thinks this mouse is.
This is why Bluetooth sucks, and always use cords. Listener, if you want to know why JJ uses a wired mouse and a wired keyboard, this is why. Extraordinarily inconvenient for sometimes.
Give me a minute here. Let's see. This is all going to be interesting to edit and see if we can get a usable episode out of this. Seeing as we're already 20 minutes in, we can't get past the Bluetooth problem. So Bluetooth, forget this device. Yes. Bluetooth off. I have a wired keyboard. I guess I will deal with this problem later. I will go find it. Give me 2 minutes.
Well, listeners, Andrew has gone. Allow me to regale you with tales of me playing Marvel's Midnight Suns this week. That game is all right. It really makes me feel like I'm back in college in some ways, except all the members of the people that I live with in the dorm are weird superheroes who have hang-ups and insecurities about not being good enough at superheroing. It's pretty weird. I will say I do I'm starting to really enjoy the really bite-sized amount of combat in that game. It's really fun to just go in and wreck house on a bunch of little Hydra dudes by shooting lasers at them or having Spider-Man jump all over them and kick them into the next week. But I'm not sure where the story is going. It's been very I mean, I guess in true comic book fashion, there's been a decent number of twists and turns, and I'm pretty curious to see what happens. It is always fun though to go back and like hang out with Spider-Man and Ghost Rider, and, like build stuff, work on his car, or help Iron Man and Doctor Strange bicker with each other in the Forge. Man, they really don't like each other. Although maybe it's good-natured bickering. I don't know. There's definitely a lot of bickering. I think my favorite little subplot so far has been Blade starting a book club. I'm really enjoying that one.
I'm back. What did you talk to the listeners about?
Oh, I talked to the listeners about the fun I've been having this week with Marvel's Midnight Suns.
Oh, very cool.
I really enjoy that Blade has started a book club.
So, can you see the screen again?
Mm-hmm. I still see it. Yep.
Okay. No, cancel. Don't shut down. Switch to desktop. So, because I bought the dock, I have 3 USB A type or original type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's
places to use. So now we can do this.
Hey, I see a mouse.
Yeah, so we got a mouse. Okay. JJ, I took notes. So let's talk a little bit about what we did last time.
Okay, so for the reminding the astute reader.
Yeah, so 20 minutes in of this recording, 5 minutes into the actual episode. Hello, welcome to We Were Gamers. I left doing Bluetooth till last, so now we're, where we are. But this has a whole new look, huh, JJ?
Yeah, man.
Steam Deck, the podcast 2.0.
Yeah. I would say I hope that folks who joined us for the last Steam Deck episode, which was shot via honestly surprisingly well done overhead cam
handycam footage,
have appreciated the upgrade in quality we have here.
Yeah, we did it. This is kind of cool. I can see it in the OBS window. So last time, previously on Steam Deck 1.0.
Yeah. We installed RetroArch via Steam last time.
It works okay.
Yeah, it works.
It functions, and I don't suggest people don't do it. But let's say there were many people that reached out about doing Emudeck, and saying that maybe running it through the Steam native API isn't exactly the answer all the time for everything, and that there might be a better way. And so people reached out and said, "What, have you tried Emudeck yet?" And we said, "I guess we should do that, right?"
I think the thought was we had heard of Emudeck, but this was easy and free, and not that Emudeck costs money, but more that like we had it felt like less work potentially. Although maybe it will turn out to be wrong. I guess we'll find out.
Do I need to install Firefox? Is that what this is saying?
I mean, I don't know. Did you click on the Firefox logo down at the bottom?
I did. Yeah. Do you see it?
I see, but it's hard to see what the text is.
I'm typing. Yeah, it's very small on the screen. I don't know why it's so tiny. I don't know how to make it bigger. If this tiny little window at the top takes up the entire Steam Deck screen. This is all fascinating and fun, huh? Just trying launch. Okay. Firefox is available to launch now.
That's good.
Okay, we've got a real Firefox window here. I don't know if you can see it in the top tiny little corner there.
I see it. Yeah, I can see that top little corner. I think is what you need to be your entire. Oh, maybe the size of your desktop is too big.
Maybe. How do I change that?
If this was different flavor of Linux, I would know how to do that. Get to that menu with display stuff again. I can't read
this window. It says drag to rearrange screens.
Yeah.
Elgato.
So it definitely identifies the Elgato as a separate screen.
Yeah.
When you hit identify.
But it's on mirror.
Yeah, but it's mirroring it at the wrong resolution.
Yeah. And I can't get it in the window to show up.
So click back on that first screen, the only one you have there.
Yeah.
Get in
Yep.
there.
Yeah, I'm here. Oh, there we go. There it is. There it is. What resolution do we want?
The same as the other one.
16 by 10. There we go. Apply. So we won't get full HD resolution, but now
Who cares?
keep. Oh my God.
Yeah, okay. This is totally yep.
Learning Linux with JJ and Andy.
This was I don't want to be mean, but if I had
this was always going to happen.
No, but if I could have seen this menu, I would have known what to do.
This is why I wanted to fix it before we kept going any further.
No, you were right to do it. You were right to do it. This is one of those. This is one of those things where like I've had to do annoying stuff like in the vein of this.
Yeah.
With my Linux computer before.
Yeah.
But yeah, without being able to see the menu, you can't tell because I couldn't read it like at that tiny one. I was like literally bending over and squinting at my screen to try.
Buddy, we were both doing it. I'm sitting here going, "What good resolution? I can't see anything."
And you can see the whole thing now, right? Like the bottom bar and the whole
I can see
corners.
everything on the OBS screen now, so I can actually pull the OBS screen in front of me instead of sitting all strange and weird sideways at the computer, which is kind of
what you mean. You don't sit strange, weird goblin mode all the time, like cranked over to the side or whatever.
What's wrong with goblin mode? I guess, right? So this is the emudeck.com. So JJ, what we did last time was we installed RetroArch, which is what would you call it? An encompassing emulator.
It's an emulator that houses I'd say it's an emulator that houses many different cores for different systems that it can emulate.
Okay.
But it's a shell, right? RetroArch is a shell for many different underlying emulators.
Okay. But it's also more of a a library kind of management system for the communities that make these things as well, right? Like they don't have
I mean, RetroArch is the system and the organization tool and the file browser and like all of that stuff. The only thing that the core is literally just the part that does the emulation of the game.
Yeah.
Right. All the rest of it is just wrapper around the thing that puts the pixels on the screen.
So now let's complicate it and say, what's emulation station?
Don't know, Andrew. You tell me.
Okay. So emulation station.
Other than like, I know.
It seems to be a wrapper for the wrapper. So what it's gonna do apparently is give us a more of a GUI style operating system for RetroArch and other non-RetroArch emulators. Yeah,
so I believe from what I read about this thing, which is not a ton, but from what I have read, is that this thing is a big picture type thing that really just allows you to install a bunch of other emulators and makes it easy to access them from specifically a Steam Deck.
Okay. How do I empty my trash on this machine? Oh, here we go. Trash.
Yeah, probably just trash. Like that, I would guess.
Trash. There we go. Downloads. Okay, so we've downloaded the EMU desktop installer. Emudeck is different from like RetroDeck and others where it's going to make scripts to download and install what we tell it to download and install from the internet, and it's all going to kind of package it together using Emulation Station and Steam ROM Manager and RetroArch and separate systems and kind of package them all together for us. I think there's another system out there called RetroDeck, which kind of tries to flat pack it all together for you. But that then requires them to update the entire thing every time somebody gets a little update to them or something, right?
Yeah. I think the benefit with this one is that because you have underneath it installed all the things separately, they can update themselves separately. Whereas the flat packed one, is convenient in that it just installs everything all at once without you having to do additional steps.
Yeah.
But then because of that integration, then they're difficult to update individually, and they may not work together once you do that. So
we're gonna try. We've uninstalled everything. We've uninstalled everything that we said that we did last time, because this is gonna install a Linux but non-Steam version of RetroArch, I guess.
Right. So the thing about RetroArch on Steam is, my understanding is that it is behind and sort of locked to certain levels of the RetroArch shell.
Yeah.
Or maybe they push updates to it less frequently, and this would allow you to stay all the way up to the bleeding edge, and or even to use versions of things that RetroArch supports outside of Steam that they don't support in Steam for reasons.
Yeah. There's two things I want to talk about before we leave today. One is the Switch, and we'll get to it later. And two is I'm just going to start moving through the things, and JJ and I are going to chat, because we're here to hang out and talk about this stuff and experience it. But I don't think this is exactly a tutorial, right? Like, we're not sitting here trying to learn all. We're here to experience the why isn't the Bluetooth working? How do you change the resolution? What is custom mode? Like, we're here for the experience. You're here to watch us flail. I went out earlier today and watched a YouTube tutorial and read an article by Retro Game Core, CORPS. And if you are really interested in this exact program, which I can't necessarily recommend because we're just trying it for the first time here, they would be a good source to start with for educating yourself on the exact particulars of all this. As I start to get into this more, I'm sure the podcast in general is going to start talking about this more.
Yeah. And I assume these people like have their own guides telling you how to install it and what things.
Emudeck has a guide. There's a guide right here. It says, check out this guide.
Yep.
Right here. We're going to go straight to custom mode, because why not? Why would you ever click easy mode?
Always
choose
better to have more
where
options,
you would
right?
like your ROMs to be stored. I want them here.
Seems good.
I chose the SD card for the non-podcast or non-video listeners. Hey, we have a YouTube channel, JJ.
Yeah. That's youtube.com/@WeWereGamers.
Yeah.
And check us out on there. You could be watching this video, seeing what the heck it is we're talking about here.
Yeah. So choose your device, Steam Deck. I guess they support the Emudeck Win 600, but we're going with the Steam Deck itself.
Cool.
So do we just want to install all this stuff? I think we do, right? Just in case.
It's a question of how many different emulators you want to have installed, right? They got a whole bunch on here for the benefit of the listeners. The ones listed on the screen: RetroArch, Dolphin, Prime Hacks, PPSSPP, DuckStation, Citra, PCSX2, RPCS3, Yuzu, Ryujinx, XEMU, CEMU, Emulation Station, MAME Standalone, Vita 3K, quote, experimental, and Scum VM. Yeah, man. I don't know.
Click all these, right?
Why not? Yeah, sure.
Citra and CEMU are more recent, like Wii and
CEMU is a Wii U emulator.
Yeah, Wii. So I think Citra is Wii, and I think CEMU is Wii U. PCSX2, you know that one.
Yep. RPCS3 is a PS3 emulator.
Yuzu, exactly.
Yuzu and Ryujinx are both Switch emulators.
Yes, and
XEMU is either
so I don't
Xbox
need
or 360.
So I don't need Ryujinx.
So I'll say, having emulated a Switch game, which I own, sometimes you want both to compare them against each other because they don't always work the same way, and like you have problems with one and then not the others.
So you might as well install both, because it can't be that big, right?
No, I mean they're not like the install of the emulator is not the thing that takes up the space.
It's the games, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna keep Dolphin on there. RetroArch, obviously.
Dolphin is just great, man. I love Dolphin.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's also a GameCube and a Wii emulator, so maybe you don't need both. But anyway, there are redundancies on here, is what it's worth saying. That it's definitely fine to not install all of them.
Yeah, I don't care. Click this button. I got the big one.
Do it.
By default, we will overwrite all configuration on these emulators. You can disable any emulator emulator to keep its current configuration. Not recommended. Active means the emulator will be overwritten. Overwrite them. Configure autosave. If enabled, your game state will be saved on exit and automatically loaded when opened again. Affected in Atari, Game Boy, blah, blah, blah. That seems good.
Yeah, so this is a like automatic save state is what it sounds like.
That sounds good to me.
If that's what you want.
Boom, on. Next.
It's cool that they give you the choice.
Oh, look at this, JJ. Configure.
Oh yeah, retro achievements. We talked about this.
Retro achievements. Yeah, we talked about this in Steam Deck episode 1.0. You describe this because you're the one that told me about it.
Yeah, so I have fooled with this before. Well, I've only used it. No, I mean, I've used it not through this setup, but I've used it in other things. And basically, it is, the Retro Achievements itself is a website that an emulator can, like, you create your account on that website, and your emulator can go to the website via an API, pull down hooks and additions to your game, and basically create achievements for the game, so that when you do certain actions in the game and trigger certain things, it will pop up an achievement as though this was 360 or a PS4 or 5 or Xbox, whatever.
So you have a Retro Achievements account.
I probably do, but I could not possibly tell you the username or password.
I currently do not, so we'll skip this step for now. I know that you can go back in and
you can totally come back and do this later.
Yeah.
It is totally fun and completely unnecessary.
Superfluous, I think, is the word they call that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Configure game bezels. You can use our pre-configured bezels to hide vertical black bars on 8-bit and 16-bit games. Sounds good to me.
That's fun.
That is fun. Okay, configure aspect ratio for classic Sega games. 4:3 original, 3:2 less black. But no, we're going original, baby. Configure it for Super NES.
So now you got a real choice. The real SNES resolution.
Oh man, default. Look at that.
Because it's true that SNES one is actually right. Because I think the SNES doesn't quite output 4:3.
Let's do 8:7 then. Why not? Yep. Ooh, widescreen hacks available for Dreamcast and Nintendo 64. JJ, look at that.
I've used some of these. These require alterations, though. You're not playing the original ROM doing this stuff.
Oh, the original aspect ratio it is.
I use them.
I cut you off before you were gonna. So you're gonna do this. You're gonna say you use the widescreen hacks.
Usually, it depends. It depends on the game.
Look at this one. Look, so go back and he says full screen using widescreen hacks on Dreamcast and N64. It's just like, okay, sounds good. What does that mean? What is widescreen hack? It looks like.
Click on it. Click on it, right?
No, I know. I've clicked on it, and the people are seeing it in the video. Yeah, what is an alteration? You have to download extra files?
No, well, like files. What do you mean by files?
Do I have to do something?
No, I'm sure these emulators will apply these for you. But the point is, someone has made, whether you want to call it a script or a series of commands or something that you can run in the emulator that will cause the game to output more data than it usually would, right?
Right.
Normally, it's outputting in this specific aspect ratio, but they have made alterations to the game and the renderer of the game or the emulator, depending on the various things. I'm not, all the way versed in the software things here.
Okay, so it's telling the game to render more. Got it.
Yes, you're playing the game, but it is now giving you a bigger screen, right?
Oh.
In theory, if it is done well, it should play basically the same. But because now you have widescreen view, there can be some weird things that happen where, like, you can see stuff you weren't meant to see, or like you have a wider field of view in some cases, so stuff might look weird. There's a lot of different ways these things can be implemented. I would say generally they're fine because the people that do them are good, but it's there is some preference there. You will notice it, and it will be different.
Yeah. So if we go to the next one, it said configure aspect ratio for GameCube, and it says 14:3 original is fine, 16:9 full screen using widescreen hacks just like last time. Expect some graphical glitches.
Right. Well, so the difference here is like I think
That's
these are
just a
different.
stretch. Look at that. That's just a
Yeah,
look
it
at the
is.
buttons. That's just a stretch.
Yeah. So the thing is, right, that's the graphical glitches you're getting, right? But look at
Yeah.
the character and look at the world. That
It's
stuff
a
doesn't change, right?
bird's eye situation.
No, it's not, right?
Oh.
Like look at the rendered part. The issue is that
Oh, right. Okay.
this stuff is overlaid on top of the rendered screen, right? So the
Okay.
3D rendered part is now 16 by 9 and looks good.
Right. Yeah.
The problem is in this game in particular, this looks like Wind Waker.
Wind Waker it is. Yeah.
The map and this button combination and the hearts and stuff aren't rendered. They're done via like, you know, flat pictures put on top of the rendered scene, and they can't fix the size of them, right? They'd have to recreate new versions of those.
Right. Well, in the last one, they stay in the same spot. You see that?
Right, because this is Dreamcast and Nintendo 64, where apparently they can do that better, right?
Yeah.
Versus here with the GameCube, maybe it's not as possible. So
Okay.
it's just one of those things where like it depends on the various emulators, and like a lot of this stuff, you're going to want to play with these options yourself. Like that's true for every emulated game, I feel.
Oh, look at that. So this next screen is LCD shader for handhelds. LCD shader simulates the old LCD matrix screen of handheld systems. So it basically dulls out the colors quite a bit.
Well, but it makes it look like how those screens look. It tries to make it look like how those screens looked, right? As opposed to rendering perfect high resolution stuff. This is similar to like if you ever tried a scan line filter on stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, look, you can see the matrix of the line. It's adding lines in.
Yeah, it's adding like the dot LED effect.
It's adding the bad screens on there. I don't know how I feel about that because I actually like it. It's prettier without it.
I will say it is one of those things that is divisive among some people. Some people are like, I want to see it like it was, and that's what the filter is for. And other people want like, I want the rawest, most pure, like rendered pixels I can get, and then you leave it off, right? Similar with those CRT filters, right?
Yeah.
If you want, some games look wrong without those CRT filters. However, sometimes people have gotten used to that wrong look and decide that they like that now. This is why you can have both, right?
Yeah. I'm sure I can turn this off later if I don't like it, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how. Well, you probably go back through this screen if you wanted to.
I mean, you probably just go into the various emulators.
Configure CRT for 2D classic games. Whoa.
Yeah, dude. CRT filters make a big difference, in my opinion.
Whoa. Those are totally different colors.
Well, but that's what a CRT did, right? Like, this is one of those things where people don't understand, like, how different stuff looked on a CRT TV.
Wow. On. It's got to be on. Right? I mean, look at the color change.
Yeah. The thing about CRTs, right, is that they have glow, they have luminescence. Like each dot that got rendered on a CRT like bled a little bit into the colors next to it. It didn't render the colors exactly right. All that stuff. It's really it's really different.
Now we're going to be divisive because CRT shader gives classic systems faux CRT vibe for classic 3D games of PlayStation 1, Saturn, N64, Dreamcast. Look at this thing.
But like this is the same thing, right? This is the same kind of thing where they built these systems to run on these old CRTs, and then they look different when you don't do that. It's
Emulation Station theme. So do we want Emulation DE, Epic Noir, RB
like
Simple?
It's just like how you want it to look.
This looks like a Switch, so we're going to not do that.
Okay, I mean, that's your choice.
Install homebrew games.
Do you want games that people have made?
I don't want their homebrew games. I'm sorry. I don't currently.
Now you should hit watch log because this is going to be more fun. Yeah.
Oh, here's the Linux.
This is what I want.
Here's the Linux, baby. Okay, so if this takes a little while to install, let's see how fast it's kind of going in the background here. Maybe we'll talk about our side discussion that I want to have a little bit because we got an email.
Okay.
About I want to paraphrase the email because it's a sentiment that I got as well as a direct email. The direct email wasn't worded well and the question wasn't great. But it got to a sentiment that I've heard before, which is, Andy, you told me the Switch is the best handheld, the coolest thing, etc. Why are you talking so much about your Steam Deck? What are you doing with the Steam? Like, what is the Steam Deck when? Or should I even get a Switch now? There's a lot of like complicated around this. You translate what I'm saying a little bit, JJ. Is what you're hearing out of me.
So I think, some people are I think there's probably reasonable people being like, what is the point of having a Switch right now if, like, the number one thing I hear about games on the Switch is people like, man, I really would like to not play this game on the Switch.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair criticism. The Switch is like several years old at this point, right? Like 6, maybe?
Yeah, I think you're 2018, maybe 2018.
I don't know. But that's a long time. So I can easily see and understand people being like, how long is this thing going to continue to be supported? Especially because, as we know, Nintendo loves to eventually turn off its services and not let you use their things in the future.
Especially now, when they're trying to create these online systems. I wonder a little bit about the, like, well, you're paying for the N64 and you're paying for this and that, but they don't seem to be adding anything with any verve. You know what I mean? It's not like every week there's 17 games getting added to those systems, which there could be. There's plenty of room for them to make the investment to be adding 10 games a month.
I think every month or whatever they are adding like 1 or 2 things so that you can't say you're getting nothing.
Yes, I'm not saying they're not doing anything. Let's be clear.
Yeah, like I just want to say they're like doing the minimum here is what it seems to me like.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was a lot of text that wasn't an install. Whew. I love the install bar.
Yeah, this is a very funny way to render an install bar on a terminal.
I kind of like it.
Yeah. The other thing, though, I think is that, some of the, some people really like the Switch and are sad to hear other people, have stopped liking or given up using their Switch because they really like using it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing stopping you from continuing to use your Switch, right? I don't think that you're advocating here that everyone should throw their Switch in the trash and use a Steam Deck, right?
Right. Yeah.
The difference is that the Switch doesn't support all this stuff, right? And
it's not a computer,
right?
I mean, it's got an ARM chip in it, finally, like a real computer. But I think one of the reasons I didn't pick the Steam Deck itself as my thing of the year, and it may be my thing of the year next year, when I get through sorting through what the heck all this text in front of me means. I'm fascinated by this. You were right to say. Oh, I know. I'm getting.
They're just installing a bunch of emulators, man.
Yeah, this is
what the install screens look like.
MAME is getting installed. Yeah. I mean, it's nice. It's cool.
So now they're installing XEMU, right?
Yeah.
Ujinx was the one before that. So
yeah.
Now it's CEMU. So the
Switch still has a place in our home. I handed it to a kid today to let her try Donkey Kong for the first time, right? Like, I'm not going to hand off the Steam Deck for that purpose. It's not the right size. It's not the right weight. It's not the right feel. It's not the right menus. It's not the right games. The Switch... how do I want to say this? The Steam Deck isn't what the Switch should be. I think that's what a lot of people who are like console war fighters say is like, this is what that should have been. Or, well, the Xbox is a better version of this. It does this better. Or the Steam Deck's a better Switch. Or this is a better that. And it's like, that device was made to be that device, and it is that device, and it does exactly that. Sometimes you'd say things like, well, the new 3DS was definitely better than the old 3DS, so you shouldn't get that older one. You should get the newer one. Or the OLED Switch doesn't improve the Switch any. Don't bother, right? Like, that's a real review of a thing. But saying like, "Yep, the Steam Deck is what the Switch should have been," is not. It's not. I think a fair or even a legitimate discussion to have. The Steam Deck is not what the Switch should be, and the Steam Deck may do if you do what we're doing here, right? And you have legal ROMs and all that stuff, and you want to use those ROMs on a different device because you think it might play better, or you get really more into this than I probably ever will. Sure, you might be able to use a Steam Deck to do the same things, but I think I would still say if you've got kids and you think that you want to give them one game,
so I think
it's a Switch.
The important thing.
It's got to be a Switch. It's not a Steam Deck.
I think the important context that people are missing, right, is that you have like more things going on than you playing games in the consideration, right?
Yeah.
Like you also may be a little reticent to give your child the Steam Deck because the Steam Deck costs so much more.
Oh,
right,
astronomically,
and they're somewhat more difficult to get. Although I hear they're shipping pretty quick now these days. But anyway,
you can get one pretty quickly if you want. If you don't want the high end one, I think you can get one directly.
So that is another consideration, right? But this is stuff that maybe people who want to argue about systems or say like thing is better than other thing maybe aren't considering that like you have more considerations than just like whether this thing itself is better than the other thing. You don't care. Having two things is better for you than having one best thing, right? Because you have a use case where someone is using the other thing, and now you have a second thing that could be used at that time.
Yeah.
And it plays, and they do different things, right? The Switch
Absolutely.
Having less features is a benefit for someone like a young child who is not going to have the capability to handle Linux stuff and install scripts, right?
Or when it crashes, know what the heck to do.
Right, exactly. And to be fair, I'm sure the emulators and all this stuff runs well, that it would be unlikely to crash once you had it set up. But like they're not going to be able to figure out how to set this up. I mean, not at the age they are now. I'm sure in like 5 years they'll be running circles around us or whatever. But this is as we age into our doddering old man.
As morphed before your eyes. I was flipping through these screens here of installation suggestions and tips, and I ran across this one that's got folders that we're going to drop stuff into. ROMs, where I'm going to put those Game Boy ROMs that we had last time from my ripped Game Boy games. Emulation / BIOS. What's this about? What BIOS do I need to be finding?
So for consoles which have internal BIOSes, for legal reasons, the emulators cannot provide those.
What would those be? That's not an SNES, right?
No, it's not. The SNES, when you turn on an SNES, does it boot up into something?
No. But a PlayStation 2 did?
Mm-hmm. And so does a PS3, a PS4, or a PS5, a Switch, a Xbox 360, but maybe not Xbox Original?
Don't know.
Anyway, those all have BIOSes, which is the like
that's
base level operating system
software, which the emulator would not be able to own, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
And you have to provide that yourself.
Okay.
Look, you can find that stuff on the internet. I'm sure everyone out there figured out how to do this. You can do it too. But for like an SNES or a Game Boy, that's not relevant.
Okay. So like the stuff
that we're telling you here where to put those things though. So which is nice.
Okay. Yeah. So it's got it all nice or BIOS path. Okay. Some games need the original BIOS to launch.
Oh, yeah, they just told you.
Oh, I guess I could have kept swiping, but them don't use subdirectories. Oh.
Just stick them in that BIOS folder.
Okay. Except if you have Switch BIOS. Mm-hmm. You need BIOS files for these systems. PlayStation 1.
Yep.
2, 3. Sega CD, Mega CD, Dreamcast, Saturn, Switch, DS, Microsoft X.
That's not Microsoft X. The MSX is an old PC computer from Japan.
Okay. Amber Elec Convention. I don't know what that is, but I think that they're telling me what it is. Steam input profiles. You can use the Steam's triggers, the back buttons, basically, to control emulator hotkeys. That's awesome.
And they're telling you to do this.
Do this for 3DS, Wii U, PlayStation 1 and 2. Okay, we'll do. Okay, 2 front ends. This is what I was a little worried about. You can either use Steam ROM Manager to add your games or use Emulation Station. If you have a small library, we recommend Steam ROM Manager. If you have thousands of games, Emulation Station will work better. If you only want to use Emulation Station, disable all other parsers when you launch Steam ROM Manager. Okay. We've run out of tips, so we're going to launch Steam ROM Manager, I guess? Or do we need to... Do we need to close this and move my ROMs first, I think? Because there won't be anything to manage.
Probably.
Okay. We're going to exit. We're going to leave that in the downloads for now. Emudeck gets its own little thing right next to this. That's kind of cool. Now, I pre-did this, JJ. Let's see if it worked. There should be... Oh, there's MSC6. There is all the games that we copied over earlier. So we shift. Oh, shift doesn't work the same way because I'm on the wrong keyboard. Right click.
I believe that's what the kids say. They say got him.
Copy. Primary is the SD card. Emulation. ROMs. Oh, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
This is cool. Game Gear, Game Watch, GameCube, GB. There we go.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Paste. Very cool. Okay, so now we've got those moved over onto there. I think it's done. Launch Emudeck again. Checking for updates. Cool. Auto updating. Like it. Tools and stuff is what they said to use. There's Steam ROM Manager. What else we got here? Guides. That's fun. Power tools. Gyro. Decky. Compressor. Update emulators and tools. That's going to be an important button.
Yeah, people will probably want to check those out, of course.
Quick settings. Check BIOS. Save backup Steam ROM Manager. Exit Steam to launch Steam ROM Manager. To add your emulators and Emulation Station to Steam, hit Preview. Then generate app list. Then wait for images to download. When you are happy with your image choices, save app list and wait for it to say it's completed. Temp desktop controls will revert to trackpad. Okay, sure, whatever. I have a mouse and keyboard though, so should be fine. Oh, there's all the... Okay, wow. Wow.
You knew there had to be a case where this was going to get technical here.
I'm a little nauseous here.
I mean, I don't know why. It's just a bunch of stuff.
Read this sentence. Configuring a parser might look overwhelming, but it's easier than you think. Click the eye near an option to see related information, which might be useful to you. Okay, enabled, unsaved, disabled. That's fine. Steam ROM Manager. So Emulation Station should have all of our ROMs in it. Right? I
don't know, man.
Okay. Basic configuration. Can select parser type. Do we need to do this? I don't know what this is. Whoa, what's this?
I mean, this is how it's looking for the various games from these other things, right?
Yeah, but Epic and GOG?
I mean, those are games.
Yeah, but I don't have those on here. I wonder if that means you can get them on here.
I mean, it's a PC. You could just install whatever you want, right? There's nothing stopping you from installing Epic on this PC.
How would you run it, though? Because I don't think Epic makes a Linux installation.
Does this program know that?
Good point. Yeah, it might not. Okay. As far as I recall, we should turn all these off and just turn on Emulation Station.
Okay.
And save it. Oh. Error encountered while saving user configurations. Why? I'm confused. What am I missing here? Am I missing a step? This is why it's not a tutorial though, JJ, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe this becomes a 2 episode situation here.
Yeah, might be. Oh, we got. Whoa, what was that? It was trying to launch something.
Looked like it was a window manager there.
Oh, maybe it was trying to launch a window manager. Well, these are the dangers you run, huh? Huh.
I think we did not follow a step somewhere at the end of that installation. Yeah, that's my guess. You selected a parser, but then maybe did not run it, or
do I need to run a parser?
Something like that is my
Maybe
guess
I need
here.
to run a parser. Okay.
All right. Well, we tried. Undoubtedly, we have forgotten something very straightforward, and it will be very clear. And folks who probably didn't listen to this as a tutorial, which again, it was not, would probably be able to figure out what's been going on. But if you want to tell us what we did wrong, you can send those emails to podcast@weweregamers.com. We'll already know what the fix is by the time you send them, but it's worth sending them anyway, so you might as well.
Yeah. Next time we'll talk about DOSBox a little bit more. We'll go through what we missed in this step and where we got to, and maybe we'll walk through how it all works. I don't know. Maybe.
Yep.
Next, I won't try and Bluetooth the keyboard to it next time. I'll tell you that much. That ate like 20 minutes, JJ.
Never use Bluetooth, dude.
Probably a good idea. Thanks for trying to help me out today, and thank you for the walkthrough on how some of this stuff works. And I can't wait to do it next time. So it would have been pretty strange to kind of end the podcast there. Just kind of assuming we didn't figure it out. But I wasn't really able to leave well enough alone after JJ and I ended the pod, and I went through a guide and decided I was going to figure it out. And it only took about 5 more minutes worth of time. You can see here Emulation Station actually running. This is kind of weird doing this alone by yourself, just recording into the void, but hey, we're here. And I just want to show you that it does work, and JJ and I'll go through everything else that comes with I don't know, comes from having done all of this, and the benefits and side things you can do and all that sort of stuff. I think we'll explore all that next time together, just to kind of experiment and figure out what's going on. But if we went back into the desktop mode here, sorry, let's figure this out. Here we go. Switch to desktop mode. Yes, please do it. Okay, we'll try doing it with the buttons. There we go. Apparently it likes doing it with the buttons instead. We'll switch back to desktop mode. We were pretty close. JJ actually, I think, said it out loud when describing what he thought we should do. We got to re-edit these display settings. Apparently they didn't save. Keep. Okay, so now we've got this all fixed up for the stream. Cool. I didn't know I'd have to do that every time. That's cool. At least we know how to fix that this time, right? It's all fun. This is what I think Michael was talking about, was the fun of experimenting and exploring and tinkering, and something that I know that I like to do and scares me that I like to do it is this type of stuff where you get to roll around in the mud a little bit of making things work. So we went into this Steam RAW manager during all that, and we were right to remove all these parsers and everything. The thing you have to do, and is not clear basically anywhere here, is that you need to go up to this preview button on the top left and tell it to generate an app list, right? And the app list will give you these things. Everything that's in these parsers will end up in this app list. And I'll have to blur that. When you kind of select them by type or whatever, you can see how they'll look inside. This poster type is how they'll look inside Steam later on. And then you save your app list here with the Save App List button. And that's it. That's all you have to do. So if you want Emulation Station to be the only thing that shows up, you go into parsers and only show it Emulation Station. If you want your separate emulators to show up so you can run them separately, if you want your Commodore 64 games or your Nintendo 64 games, or for me, I could select these Game Boy games, Game Boy, right? Games to go through and go in there. You could do that, all of that, here, and whatever you turn on will show up in Steam after you generate that list. I chose to just put it all in here so that it's not 1,000 games or whatever, like even the Game Boy games is enough to start to clutter things up. You can turn off games in Steam, like when you go into this Steam, like on your desktop mode, you can go in here and turn off kind of whatever you want in here. So now it creates this other tab. You see Emulation Station DEX64 Steam Deck. Kind of gives you the desktop edition with a Steam Deck launcher, and that is turn offable. If you want to, you can remove it from the collection, or you can remove it from the library. You can do all sorts of stuff. So now that that's there and showing up in Steam, if you switch back to gaming mode, this was fun to figure out. It really was, despite the early frustrations in not being able to hook up Bluetooth items, which I ended up being able to do in desktop mode because the keyboard required a password, and the mouse for some reason still does not seem to hook up correctly every time. But we're getting there. It's finicky. Linux is finicky. It's interesting that they decided to do it with Linux. I think for everyone's sake, it's probably for the best, so that open source technology and all that can keep this thing running longer than maybe other people might want it to. So now you see we're in like the big picture or gaming mode or whatever they want to call it. And in non-Steam games, you can go to Great on Deck. This is all from Steam, your Steam library. This is from your Steam library. This is what you have installed, but it doesn't show up as installed because it's not a Steam installed game. You have to go to either collections or non-Steam games, and then you can go down. Emudeck is there. That's Emulation Station. Not a lot to do there till you launch it. I only have Game Boy games because that's the only legal ROMs that we have here. You can see I haven't gone in to put in any information except for this DuckTales one. We'll talk about this next time. But if we just want to see if it works, we're going to do that. Right? We're just going to see if it works, and then that'll be the end of the podcast. Boom. There she is. I think she's working. And then clarify, it's like RetroArch is running in the background, and you can kind of go from there, run your games. Fun, huh? All right. See you next week. We'll probably work on this some more.